are focused today on resetting and refocusing your college students' 2026 Executive Function Playbook. Because, this time of the year, we're all thinking about how we want to make changes, big or small. And those changes are going to have impact upon our routines and our work. Students in college are definitely focused on the future. It's not only the start of a new calendar year, but right now is also the start of a new semester. So this is absolutely the perfect time to reset and refocus and to get some great strategies that everybody can use. So my name is Rachel Moss. I am a master level teacher from the state of Pennsylvania, and I have more than 15 years of experience at the university and high school level. I taught writing at the university level before I was a high school teacher, and at the high school level, I taught all those college and high school classes, the dual enrollment classes in AP. And I currently work as an executive function coach with Educational Connections, and I am so lucky to have so many college kids on my roster. I have students who go to places like George Mason, University of Virginia, Temple University, Elon University, just all over the country, Loyola out in California. So every day I work with my college students to tackle executive function challenges, managing time, organizing work, all kinds of stuff. Sarah, would you please introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm also an executive function coach here at Educational Connections, and I have over 25 years of experience that spans both the educational and business realms. Over the 25 years, I've had the privilege of working in a variety of roles, from teaching all the way at elementary, all the way through high school, doing college and career advising. In addition, with working with secondary students here at Educational Connections, I also do a fair bit with college students and supporting them who we are finding require kind of a unique set of skills because obviously they're changing, they're becoming adults, they're becoming this emerging adult is what they're now called. And so
Mhm.
we're giving them those skills and qualities to succeed in the higher education environment, navigating those academic demands that they have, as well as their personal growth and future career planning. But the one thing that we're finding too is that we're setting them up for jobs that haven't even been created quite yet. And so
Yeah.
the executive function skills that we are helping them, that is going to prepare them for whatever job comes at them and whatever that world looks like when they graduate from college, and will set them apart in their career. My roster seems to be filled. I have a lot focused on supporting students with ADHD, gifted and
Mhm.
talented students. Sometimes there's a misnomer that just because you're super smart doesn't mean you have your executive function part all figured out. And then of course kids that are on the autism spectrum as well. So those are the ones I kind of really focus on.
Yeah. I love what you said there, like emerging adults and
Yes,
also an emerging like world.
correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
if you, because we had a lot of people that said that their college student is 18 or is going to go into college. So it's like the world that they're going to be in an emerging world.
Correct.
And these are all things that we can do today to help those emerging adults in this emerging world. So here's what we're going to do today. We are going to discuss strategies that college students and their families can use to better navigate executive function challenges faced by all college students. So one of the things we want to review, and this may be new to you, this may be something that you're like, ah, yes, executive function. I know exactly what it is. But we want to talk about what executive function is because that's why we're all having this conversation today. So I want you to imagine that the mental processes that we use every day are like a series of interconnected gears, like in our little graphic. And they're all working together and they're carrying out all the steps that we need to achieve our goals. But in our little graphic, we have a foot kind of hovering above the brake. Because if one of our executive function gears starts to grind down to a halt or slow down, it's going to affect all of the other executive functions. So in our little graphic, let's say managing time is the one that kind of grinds to the halt. Like we thought the project was going to take an hour, and then, narrator, it took 4 hours. Now we don't feel as apt to initiate another task. The planning and prioritizing that we had, well, we're obviously feeling down about that. And so as the gears grind to a halt, this is also when we can sometimes see like emotional dysregulation, issues with stress management, because the feelings of stress can build up, and then students' feelings about their work and even about their executive functions can be troublesome, you know? So we have to keep in mind that executive function is keeping us going, but there are obstacles or even times when we don't have the best executive function. So, what does this look like with our favorite college students if we have that foot kind of like slowing down the gears? You are going to see struggling with study skills, deadlines, class schedules, and requirements, confusion with syllabi and their online learning management systems, lack of communication with professors, and difficulties with the overall workload. What do you think about this, Sarah? Like when you are working with a student that is showing these markers of some executive dysfunction, what are some things that you hear and see in sessions?
So I think you hit all of that, but what they're going home and telling their parents is, I'm fine and I've got it. And so
Yeah.
those are the big flags that we need to dig into a little more. What do you mean you're fine? What do you mean you've got it? Because, like we were talking, a goal, like this is a new year. We all have these goals, and it's kind of interesting. Last Friday apparently was National Quit Day on all of our New Year's resolutions, apparently, but this is something that we don't want to quit on. However, a goal without a plan is just a wish. And so,
Yeah.
generally speaking, if you dig a little further with your student, you're finding out that they don't have a solid plan. And it could be that they're just not sure where to go, but they know themselves like, okay, I'm supposed to be an adult and I should have it. So I'm going to tell you I
Yeah.
have it, even when I don't.
I hear that a lot too. Especially when college students start working with me in the beginning, I will hear a lot of, well, I mean, I should know how to read a syllabus.
Right.
Really? Because like last time I checked, you were 18 years old and 2 days.
Correct.
This is your
Exactly.
first time ever being in college. How would you have gathered that information? Sometimes I feel like kids feel that, oh, well, this is how old I am. This is where I am. I should know how to do this stuff. Or like, well, I should know how to do an annotated bibliography.
Right.
Okay, well, maybe the one that you did the one time in ninth grade in your English class isn't the same as the one your philosophy professor is having you do.
Right.
So a
I'm
lot of
seeing
these
lots of
times
that.
too, yeah. So and this may resonate with some folks that we're talking to today. And again, throw your questions in the chat as we're talking because we want to hear from you too. So we're seeing this frustration, and we, in our conversation today, want to know how can we have some strategies to help when we see our favorite college student going through any kind of struggle. So we're going to talk about three things today. We're going to talk about using campus resources. We're going to talk through some communication suggestions. And we're also going to talk through prioritizing personal and academic responsibilities in some scenarios. So, Sarah, I know that when you work with college students, you are always talking about university resources. Will you tell us a little bit about the resources that you always coach students to utilize?
Right. Well, yes, first off, you need to find out kind of like what is your professor's office hours? Does your TA hold sessions? Those are always my first two questions. Do you know where the library is? A lot of my students have accommodations. Do you know where the Office of Disabilities is? Do you understand what your accommodations are and where you get to go for that? Because that opens up a whole entire world to a lot of these students that they're not utilizing, even though they have the ability to. And so we're talking about that. We're talking about there's also tutoring, especially with these accommodations that they have, like these free tutoring things that are on campus that are going to be tailored to exactly the class that they're in. A lot of students don't know that. A lot of students don't know that, as they are getting ready to go into the work world, many of their, career offices have the ability to kind of run like a Myers-Briggs test and make sure that they're on the right track and what kind of exact job, or those students that are struggling to know what am I supposed to major in, and they have those resources there. So just really helping the student navigate all that there is for them is huge because universities offer a lot, and it seems that a lot goes untapped.
hmm I have to say, whenever I start working with a college student, these are always things that I am coaching them to figure out, that I am coaching them to advocate for. One of the
Yes.
ways that I always talk about this with my students is you're already paying for this stuff. You know,
Mhm.
this is part of your college tuition. So that writing center, you're paying for that. The TA that's going to help you, the subject specific tutor that's going to help you, that's all part of your life on campus. And you know, when we think about these resources, we also have to think about the executive function skills. Because just like you said, Sarah, about the library, the kids that don't know where it is, then the next thing is, okay, how do I get there? What time does it open? What time does it close?
Mhm.
If I need help with something, oh, golly, I have to talk to somebody, you know?
Yeah.
So we have to plan out all of these things. Oh, Carrie in our chat just said, we know that colleges have amazing resources, but it takes courage and motivation to go. It's a struggle to get them to take those steps because of fear, negativity, etc. That is something that, you know, when we think about those executive function gears like kind of grinding to a halt, we're hearing, and then Sylvia in our chat too said that she hears a lot of negative self-talk.
Mhm.
That's a stress response a lot of the time.
Correct.
So you know, and but if you look in our like key executive functioning skills, we actually have the questions that are happening in kids' heads. So it's like,
Mhm.
oh, I have to go to the writing center. When should I go there? Or one that I hear all the time, like now, like navigating obstacles, like, well, you know, I have to study for this, but in order to do that, I would have to go to one thing, but can I go to the second thing? How do I do two appointments on the same day? Is that allowed? What if it interferes with something? And then with task prioritization, well, I could study in my room using Chat GPT, or I could leave my room and go to the TA's study group. You know,
Mhm.
so there's a lot of choices here. Do you have any suggestions for like taking the steps to having more positive outcomes rather than that negative self-talk?
What I found with college students, and I'm sure parents, you know this, and having had two kids in college myself, they stop listening to parents. And anything that we say to them, even if we're well-meaning and it's just a suggestion, they're taking as a criticism. And
Mhm.
that's where the executive coaching is so great because we don't act as the parent. We get to come in alongside them, and for whatever reason, we're not mom, we're not dad, we're not telling them what to do, but we're really
Mhm.
coming in the side door and offering suggestions like, would you like to hear an idea on how to do that? And then also with, with the ADHD self-talk, yes, that is huge. But one of the things that, in our sessions that we do so much, we really build relationships with these kids and we kind of
Mhm.
help them through their self-talk to go back, like Rachel was saying, to show that really is just a stress response, that this
Yeah.
isn't exactly what it is. This is not how you feel about yourself. None of these things are true. And actually what I do I always talk to kids about their self-talk because words are power. And so
hmm
what is that negative committee that's meeting in their head? And how do we shut them
Yes.
up and give them the correct things to do? And so, sometimes it's just the accountability piece. Like, okay, so we make a plan to go to the writing center and then we're going to follow up with them. And a lot of times, and I'm sure that you have this too, Rachel, students don't want to come back and say, well, I didn't go. So
Yeah.
they're going to go just because, again, we're that extra piece of accountability. We're not mom, we're not dad. But just like a little side note on the parenting part, anytime that you want to offer advice, make sure you ask your student, are you wanting advice or are you just wanting me to listen? And,
Right.
and while that's really, really tough, it's a really big thing in order for you to get into the world and to be able to potentially offer a suggestion. Also, use your community. It takes a village. And so maybe there is, if it's not executive function, maybe there's a close friend that can say something to your student much more than you
Mhm.
can, that could offer them something, or that they're talking to, or an aunt or something like that, or an uncle. Those have always worked as well, just in, in addition to those questions that we had about how do we talk to our kids about this.
Yeah. So much of what you were just sharing, Sarah, it really fits in with the communication strategies that we want to share with families tonight, which oh, how serendipitous, right? But one of the things that you brought out was the communication rebuilding, because I know this will, if you love a child in your family and in your life, if they come to you with a problem, you want to turn into the person you could be when they were very tiny. It's like, oh, you dropped your ice cream cone, boom, I can get you another one.
Right.
But now they're coming to you with problems about, like, I don't understand my physics professor. I think I'm dumb because everybody else in my physics class seems to get this, but I don't. We want to rush in and fix everything. And sometimes the most powerful question is the one that Sarah already shared. Hey, do you want my advice or do you want to vent right now?
Mhm.
You know, Another one that I love asking students is, okay, so I love that we're getting this out of us, that we're venting. What steps do you think you could take to fix this right now? What are maybe two things that you could do? Sometimes, like, even with the students that I work with, they'll say, like, well, I have to email my professor, and I'll ask, do you want us to collaborate and draft that together? Or
Right.
would you want to work solo and then maybe show me what you've written? Those types of things where you're offering an option rather than
Yes.
saying, here's a draft of an email, send it off right now, copy me on it. Because we do have these emerging adults and we want to support them. So that communication rebuilding after we have a communication kind of like breakdown. And one of the things that I see in my sessions is parents and students communicating a struggle over two kinds of things, like grades, because once they get into college, you don't have that parent portal where you can look at all the grades. And another one is like behaviors, like where are you spending all your time? Which I know sometimes when I start working with a college student and they're showing me what they have to do and how long they've had to do it, my first mental question is, good golly, where are you spending all your time right now? Do you ever have that happen in your sessions, Sarah?
Yes, and yes, and but the thing is, like, again, they're emerging adults. They are trying new things out. They are
Mhm.
trying to figure out, what does this mean? I have some freedom. I liken it to when we have them at home, even in high school. They have big fences. There are fences all the way around them. As soon as we take them to college, they're all down. All of them are down. And so they're really having to navigate and to figure this out. And so they're going to make mistakes. I mean, that's just the bottom line. That's just part of growing up, and mistakes are a teacher, let me tell you. So we can get
Mhm.
it in two ways: either wisdom from people who've gone before us, or the school of hard knocks. And I've had a child of each school, the one that will take wisdom and one that will take the hard knocks. And I see that in my kids that I have on my roster as well. And
Yeah.
so, and the kids that are the school of hard knocks, we're able to kind of come along and kind of help maybe not have those be such hard knocks, to be honest, because we can ask these questions. We can derail, like Rachel was saying. Okay, so what are two things that we're going to do? What are we going to do
Yeah.
today? How are we, okay, tomorrow? Yesterday we're done. Okay, now what are we going to do moving forward, and to keep that train moving forward? Sometimes it doesn't always move forward as fast as we would like as parents. Like, we want them to get to point A and point B in a very, this amount of time, but sometimes it takes a little bit longer, and maybe the path doesn't look really, real straight. But,
Yeah.
to have, when we're working with kids, that, I had one student go, you're not just my executive function coach. You're kind of my life coach. You're kind of my Sherpa. Yeah, that's kind of what we are. I mean, that's
Hmm.
really, truly, when it gets to the college level, it's becoming all of that, because they are dealing with all of that in their world.
Yeah. I had one too that said to me, I really like that when I work with you, my mom and dad and I can talk about the session notes, because, I take the notes in front of the students so the kid can see everything. And then mom and dad get them after. And he said to me, he goes, I really like it because it's like now my mom and dad are just my mom and dad, and I'm doing this stuff on my own. And the strategies that we use in our sessions, I mean, we use these communication strategies. These are
Mhm.
great for families to use as well. And one of the other things that you said, Sarah, is like those, the experience is such a great teacher. It is so hard, whether you're an educator or a family member, when the kid doesn't achieve. Instead
Mhm.
of you want to question, well, did you do that? Why didn't you do that? What went wrong there? One of the phrases I personally use before I ask those as follow-ups is I'll say, well, we have to re-roll that goal.
Mhm.
We have to re-roll. Okay, so this week you boofed it. That's okay. We're going to re-roll that goal. Reflecting on what happened last week.
Yes.
What is a step you can take to change the outcome so that you get to the writing center, so that you email the professor, to identify what the obstacle was. And a lot of times the obstacle's up here, but
Yeah.
what is something we can do to get it into a different outcome? And as we're having this conversation together, when Sarah and I were planning this, we were really talking about the types that, like if we were putting students into categories, like general trends that we're seeing. So we have two scenarios that we're going to look at that represent these general trends. And the first one we've called, I've got a busy schedule, that's all. So sometimes, and if one of these scenarios reminds you of your favorite college student, let us know in the chat, ask questions. I love when we get to have a conversation with everybody. So I've got a busy schedule. That's all is Ellie, who is second year in a medical program. She is also a health careers club member, so very active on campus. She also has a part-time job. She's working at Crumble Cookies. And so this is the student who is struggling with a busy schedule, is struggling with prioritization, dealing with interpersonal issues at her job, in her club. So, Sarah, what do you think of I've got a busy schedule, that's all? What do you see with these types of students?
So they do have a busy schedule, and I think you hit on all of the things. It is the prioritization. It is, sometimes what I found with some of my college students, they start to put their little side hustle job that they have at the coffee shop before their schoolwork. And so we're having to focus them about what is your focus here. Yes, well, that's fun and that's nice, but really setting boundaries, which is really hard for students to be able to go to their boss and say, I just can't work 40 hours. I've got a credit load of 18 of upper level
Mhm.
classes. I'm taking 18 credits. I have upper level classes. I really need that time to study and to start having those hard conversations at 19 and 20 will make a difference for the future when they are in their careers and needing to have difficult conversations. It's just, practice.
hmm And I think that some of the conversation strategies are things that can really work with families. Like for example, I have a young lady on my roster. She is in an exclusive journalism program. Very busy. She is on like the council of like young journalists in her state. She also has a part-time job at a clothing store. And she will get very easily overbooked. And so when she makes a decision, like when we're working together, like for example, when she was scheduling for her spring sessions, I said to her, I said, okay, I love that you pick times. And
Mhm.
this can be any scenario. So I've got a busy schedule, that's all. They say that they're going to do something. Some great follow-up reflection questions. Okay, I know that you have a busy schedule. Now you've picked these times for our sessions. Talk to me about how you have time. Is this coming up against commuting to school? How does this run against your classes? Are
Mhm.
you meeting with me while you're already on campus? Like helping them, the kids with the really busy schedules, to understand that it isn't just, flipping through videos on TikTok where it's like next one, next one, next one. You
Right,
need those buffers of time between things. So it's like
right.
it can't just be like, okay, I'm clicking into the next thing. It has to be like, well, I need to make sure if I'm going to meet on campus, I have time to park, I have time to walk to where the Wi-Fi is, time to get my little coffee, you know.
Yes.
So these types of things with families, these are strategies that you can use if you've got a college kid who is really busy. Another thing that I don't know if you see this, Sarah, but sometimes I see the ones that are really involved, like when it comes to like finals week and there's no more classes, it's like, oh, so I took extra hours at the crumble cookies. Did you ever
Yes.
see that one?
Yes, and then we start having conversations about when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. So, what
Mm-hmm.
is it that we're saying no to? Why do you think you don't have classes during finals week? What do you think the purpose of that is? That's for study time. So, how are you fitting this in? And so, really, again, a lot of my students have time blindness. And so, they are saying yes to
Yeah.
things and not realizing, even about projects, don't know how long, they don't know how long this commitment's going to take. So again, really getting their head, okay, analyzing that decision. What are you saying no to? If you're going to say yes to this, what are you saying no
Yeah.
to?
That's a brilliant way to have that reflection conversation, you know, because that puts it in that nice little binary of
Yeah,
yes versus no. I love that. I'm probably going to use that.
girl, take it.
I will. Okay, so this is our first one that Sarah and I said like we've seen these general trends with our college kids. So this is our second general trend that we see, the one called "I've got this." And I have to say, when we've talked about these trends before, this one tends to really resonate with folks that are in our webinars. So for I've got this, we have Tyler. He's a third year business major. He has a lot of classes where they're discussing this. I don't know if this is a little bit of a stereotypical thing, but all of my business major students, they're all talking about AI. Okay, have fun. Some semesters, I've got this kid has amazing grades, and some semesters the grades are just in the toilet. I had a family on my roster that said that they had a student that this was the thinking, this was the pattern, and the dad said it's like he just threw random darts at a dartboard and that's where the grades like fell through. So sometimes his strategies work if you have a kid that's going with I've got this, where they pull off a high GPA, they're staying up all night and doing things, and other times they're barely getting by. But one of the things that families will hear is like, well, you know, I just need to lock in, or like, don't worry, mom, don't worry about
Yep.
this. I know what happened. What do you think about this one, Sarah?
Yeah, what I'm seeing a lot is actually this. So, those of you of your 18-year-olds, if they are freshmen this year, it's that first semester home. It's that, it didn't go as planned. It didn't go quite what they thought. But then they're telling you, I've got it, I've got it figured out, I've got it. But that again, okay, how do you have it? Because what I'm seeing is they are using a lot of high school strategies that they're
Yeah.
trying to make work in college. One of the big ones that they're really coming up against that I have found in high school, and again, this kind of came out of a COVID and in a well-meaning situation, but they are able to retake assignments and retake tests. So
Mhm.
they're skipping all of that practice on how to study for tests, and they get to college and they find out, oh wait, I can't use that strategy.
Yeah.
So one, they don't have those study skills, but the other thing is in high school, they were able to show up to class and do none of the reading that was backed by it, and they were able to get by. And they're
Mhm.
getting to college and they're realizing I can't, I'm lost. I'm coming to class. I'm even showing up. I'm participating in the lectures, but there's stuff on the test that was not in the lectures. And again, they're not understanding how to effectively read their texts, how to
Mhm.
annotate and take notes, how to make their own study guides, because those study guides were given to them in high school. And
Yeah.
so I have seen over the years that this right now, this time, parents are kind of like, oh my gosh, my kid just started and it's not going well. And this is when we're kind of freaking out about things. And so the I've got this needs a little bit more conversation.
Yeah, those things in my sessions, I will talk to students about the um what the credit hours mean. Because sometimes like they know that they're carrying like a certain number of credit hours, and I talk to them about the role of preparation in the classroom, outside of the classroom. Another one I sometimes see with I've got this, and this may resonate with some folks who are joining us today. I sometimes see that students will have ideas that they're maybe taking from their peers. So, for example,
Mhm.
I have a student on my roster who is in a science program and will tell me, well, I don't even need to work this hard because these three people that I know, they told me all they do are watch these videos on this YouTube channel and then they get 100% on the test.
Right.
Which I often have a conversation with kids about like something that I experienced as a student, which is like, peacocking, where kids are like, yeah, I did 20
Uh-huh.
minutes and the paper just fell out of me. Like that kind of stuff that we sometimes do, because sometimes kids don't always recognize that. And so
Right.
they think like, oh, okay, well, Jerry has this magic formula to getting this. Well, that's what I have to do. Or
Mhm.
if I have to do more, this isn't what's normal. These are great things. These are actually great questions to ask your favorite college student. Unpack your thinking to me about this.
Mhm.
Another one that I noticed, Sarah, is that, like in this scenario, when the kid pulls the all-nighter and pulls off the great grade, well, darn it, that's motivating.
Yeah.
That's like you did some rock star half court shot, blindfolded, one arm, standing on one leg, like you did this thing you can brag about. So sometimes another thing is to examine how effective are this. Do you ever have those where like the procrastination, like payoff is like motivating to the kid?
Yes, very much so. And then,
Hmm.
unfortunately, that starts to make a habit, right? And so then we have to start to kind of backtrack about that because, it goes to what is on the slide. Some semesters it works, it's great grades, but that's
Yeah.
not a sustainable strategy. You
No.
actually need sleep. And so that's like, hugely important.
And to change those habits, we have to get the student to identify and articulate.
Yes.
And we can't have them just repeating, well, it worked. We have to ask questions that are getting them to really reflect on what they've done and to articulate for themselves. Does it work all the time?
Mhm.
Granted, it was super cool
Yes.
when it worked that one time, but is
Right.
it working every time? Because when it's coming from them, our emerging adults can really emerge and become something stronger.
Mhm.
So you've heard a lot of Sarah and I telling you about how we support student success. So when we are working in executive function sessions, we are working one-on-one with college students. We use an online platform called Lesson Space. Everything is saved in there. Um, and we are focusing on executive function. We're also focusing on tracking grades. We check them, we note them, we communicate them in our notes to our parents. So, what are some strategies, Sarah, that you use when you're working with students in an executive function session to help them when they might feel a little bit reluctant to share things about their academic work?
So I will say that over the years, what it really comes down to is relationship with the student and getting them to trust us. And believe it or
Hmm.
not, even, I found that even on, the camera back and forth, you do really build a rapport with students.
Yeah.
And so it's really, again, we're at a place that we are respecting them as adults and their choices. Again, that we're not mom and dad and that we really are team student. And so I'm always telling them that I'm not here to pass judgment. I'm here to be your thinking partner to figure
Hmm.
out what is the next step. And so, in order, just like, and I'll tell them this, just like you use Chat GPT and it asks you for more information, I can't be an effective thinking partner if we don't have all of the pieces.
Right.
And so they're, they'll start to share. And when they start, and what I found, Rachel, is that like, at first they'll just like tell you a couple things and then it will kind of progress on as you get more and more as they learn to trust you and that, you
Yeah.
really are having their back and you really are supporting them and you really do want the best for them. So, how about you, Rachel? What kind of things have you seen?
I'm really good with being like, I address the elephant in the room and I work gradually. So it's
Yep.
like, look, you and I are working together. I got no skin in the game in that I don't grade you. I am here not to give you more work, but to make your work less stressful for you. And I also allow them like measures of grace. So if a kid is reluctant at first, would you feel comfortable verbally reading this information to me while I take notes on it? Is it okay in the future if I ask you about this again? Is it okay in the future if I ask you to share your screen again? So, and actually, Sandra, in the chat, you just said, how do parents successfully encourage students to work with an executive function coach? I gotta say, sometimes I work with kids and they are like, you're a nice lady, but I'm not into this, you know. That's okay. We work with students on all portions of the cycle of change. And one of my roles at the company is being a coach mentor. So I get to work with everybody on the team, which is wonderful. And this is how, everything works with us. I'm going to put this up here. These are our 5 steps in our session with college students because I really think that this speaks to Sandra's question. How do we get them to work with an executive function coach? I think one of the things, Sandra, is they don't have to be toes over teacups to do this. I work with students that when they start working with me, this was from a much younger kid, but I know I say this all the time. I'm like a broken record, but it tickled me. The kid goes, "You're nice and everything, but I prefer to work with my real teachers." Very sassy middle schooler. And I said, "Oh, that's cool, because I would actually prefer to work with a real student." You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
wink. And I ended up like making the kid laugh, and we had a really good conversation. One of the things is we know that your favorite learner may not be into this, but we have a 5-step system for our college students. And one of them is to, work on things together, to chunk things out, to break down things. And Sarah even said one of the pieces of feedback she got from one of her students, like the life coaching aspect. Sarah, what do you think about this question that Sandra has and also how it relates to our 5 steps?
Well, I've had students like this that have come and
Mhm.
the parents are like, we don't even know if it's going to work. They're not really into it. And then that's where our process of how our coaches match your student is it's the best. And so
Yeah.
they really spend a lot of time talking to you, looking at our coaches to figure out what is the best fit for your student. And so first off, it's really trying to make that really great match is very disarming. And then to come on and see, oh, these people are really for me. Sometimes it's just that the unknown that students are kind of, a little bit weary of. But going back, if you want to flip back one slide to the five,
Yeah, absolutely.
to the 5 things, again, we're really treating them as adults. And so we are not telling them what to do. We are causing them to have a reflection and self-monitoring of the week. I mean, they are their worst critics, to be honest. And so many times with my college students, I'm the one having to come in and be their cheerleader and to be like, it's not as bad as you think it is. And just, those words of encouragement just go so far because they get stuck in their head. And so, we're really working on that. The other one that's really big is that customized strategy development. So, yes, we do have reflection, self monitoring. We go with planning and prioritizing all the
Mhm.
things. We talk to them about social events because, again, like my focus is life work balance. I am also
Me
helping
too.
students to understand that as well. That college is a really special time, and we want them to go experience all the things that they can, but still remembering what their prioritization is, but having time to do that. And so we go through on how to fit all of the things together, not about taking things out. It's just really about time management. But again, breaking and chunking things, helping them read a syllabi. Back to the AI thing, we are finding that professors are starting to put in their syllabi what they will and will not accept from AI, and students are,
Yeah,
some of my students are missing that. And each class is very different, like as far as like what one professor will accept versus another. Like the business professors seem to be a whole lot more generous with the use of AI versus
hmm,
some of the other science or math ones. So that's important. But number four, the customized strategy development. This is
yeah,
where we're going to really kind of meet them where they're at. We're going to find out kind of, I mean, I have gone as far as like helping a student meal plan so that they have those things,
I've done that.
those real life
Hmm.
skills that they are needing to be successful in college. Emotional regulation and stress management, I am finding is a very big thing for our college students. So again, working with them on those plans and doing those things. And then of course, our fifth step is just to reflect, think ahead, and goal set. Again, we are their thinking partner. We are
Yes.
asking really great questions for them so that they can come to this, because our goal, we want to have the gradual release of responsibility to the point where they're going to get very, very comfortable to be able to do this all on their own. So, that is kind of where we're at and kind of how it works, and how a reluctant student might be like, oh, okay, oh, maybe I have more skin in the game than I thought I would have in these
Yeah.
sessions.
Another one that I think is really important to note is this isn't more school after school.
Correct.
That this is another thing that I often find really helps with reluctance is that when parents talk to students about the fact that I am not signing you up for like lectures and lessons. I am not signing you up for more work. This is about helping them get the work done. That can be a very, very attractive thing if
Mhm.
you're a kid with a really busy schedule. So in the chat, I have a link that you can click so that you can get more information. We got the QR code here. I'm looking at the time. We have a couple minutes. Do we have any kind of like final questions? Anything that anyone wants to bring up? I know that we have a couple more minutes here in this session before we say goodbye. This has been such a wonderful conversation. But feel free if you have any questions, let us know. I love the questions so far, Sarah, don't you?
They're great.
Yeah. Really, really focused on our topic, really focused on our goals.
Yeah, and it is hard as parents, right? When they
Hmm.
stop listening to us.
Yeah.
So
Best
best
advice,
advice. Yeah. Do you want to take that? Go ahead.
best advice for students starting as a freshman this fall. Um, it's always about reading. Always. Realize that the reading that you are assigned is not optional. More and more, especially with the advent of these, chat GPTs and things like that, I have seen more and more professors put every single thing down to the papers that the kids have to write are all about the readings that are assigned. So there is no wiggle room. You are being tested. You have to write about that reading. That's always my thing. Focus on that reading and actually do it because that's going to be your path to the good grade. What about you, Sarah?
Just to add on to that, I would say you always want to start your semester well. And so that what that requires is digging into that syllabi and mapping out, put all those big projects, all those writings of all of your classes, color code it so you can see it and know where you're at so you can work backwards from that.
Yeah,
So, and a lot of students that don't do that, especially their freshman year, again, kind of using those old school strategies, it'll come up on my learning management system, and then all of a sudden it's there. We're not taking lates.
yeah,
We have deadlines. Those feel a little bit more harsh come college than they had in high school. So the importance of, I think that the number one mistake that I have seen with freshmen is they don't really read that syllabi. They, again, to your point, they just think it's optional. Like it's optional
yeah,
reading. It's not. It's not. It's
mm-mm,
part of it. I
yeah.
see, I see here that somebody had a session, their son had a session with Lauren, and it was
Oh,
amazing. We love
I'm
hearing
gonna
that.
tell Lauren. Oh, Carrie, how sweet of you to put that in the chat.
Yeah, that is
I would
awesome.
also encourage you, Carrie. Like we love Google reviews. So this is not only just Carrie. If we have anybody else here that has a student in sessions with us, Put some of those thoughts into Google reviews because I know that folks at our organization just love those, love sharing them with other people. Thank you all for being here today. I see that it's 7:45 on the dot. This has been a wonderful conversation. We hope to see you again at future webinars. And until then, have a great new year and best of luck to all of the lovely students in your lives. Bye,
Yes.
Sarah. I'm going to miss you.
Bye.